The year is 1998. Manga and anime culture are already well established in Europe, but in the United States, it was having a harder time making inroads, and Japan knew it. That's why they decided to send Pokemon Red and Blue on Game Boy Color a year before the European release. Yeah, a year apart, that hurts. But the Japanese were right. By sending Pokemon to the US, they installed Japanese anime and manga culture in a country that until then had absolutely nothing to do with it. But what if I told you that this culture had touched the United States so much in 1998 that it inspired the Air Max of the same year? Hi everyone, it's Arthur Barondi, and today we're talking about the Air Max 98. Like every year since 1987, Nike was about to release its new Air Max model. This model always contains improvements over its predecessor, either in design or in the air bubble. And for 1998, the task was going to be difficult. Because the Air Max 97 designed by Christian Tresser was a huge success, as was the 95. And to ensure the same success, Nike once again put Sergio Lozano, creator of the Air Max 95, behind their new model. And without knowing it, he was going to see into the future. Remember the Air Max 95. Sergio Lozano was inspired by the human anatomy to create this one, and it was a brilliant idea. Well, it looks like our designer didn't want to change a winning team. That's why he decided to reuse a part of the Air Max 95 upper concept, while completely retaining the new air bubble of the Air Max 97. Indeed, the model had evolved way too much since the Air Max 95. So that's why he decided not to touch the sole, which had been a huge success, and only work on the upper to be on the safe side. He also drew inspiration from his work at Nike ACG, the hiking branch of Nike to which he was assigned before creating the Air Max 95. His collection included some rather chunky and bulky shoes. In fact, the Air Max 98 was very reminiscent of a dad's shoe. So Sergio Lozano was seeing a lot into the future. It could even be that unknowingly, he inspired all the dad's shoes of the future. Yes, of course, New Balance also had a hand in this inspiration, but you can't help thinking of the Air Max 98. And if you think that was Lozano's only vision of the future, you're wrong, because something even more visionary and futuristic was about to inspire him. Let's talk about my favorite franchise, Gundam. To cut a long story short, if you're not familiar with it, Gundam is a franchise made up of numerous anime series, and most of them are about space warfare between giant robots controlled by humans. It was an international hit and still is. Gundam, Gundam Seed Destiny, Gundam 00, Gundam Unicorn, Gundam Reconquista in G, Zeta, Iron-Blooded Orphans, Gundam Age. It's one of the franchises with the most different series in history. But Gundam is also based on Japanese models called Gunpla, which were a huge success in the land of the rising sun. Today, ever more complex and beautiful Gunpla models are appearing, and many people have made it their hobby. And it's been so democratized that other mecha franchises, as well as Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Have started creating Gunpla. The makers of these models are a crazy community and always ultra positive. But hey, Gundam is all well and good, but what's it got to do with our story? Well, the Air Max 98 is nicknamed the Gundam for several reasons. Firstly, the legend clearly states that Sergio Lozano was inspired by the Japanese mecha anime, whose hype arrived at the same time as Pokemon. Next, look at the colors. We can see red, blue, white. No, seriously, all that's missing is a robot's head on the tongue, and it'd be even more obvious. Regarding the upper, Lozano was indeed inspired by the Air Max 95, except that instead of drawing inspiration from the anatomy of the human body, he drew inspiration from the anatomy of a Gundam, and that's why the lines of the upper look much less natural and much more robotic on the Air Max 98. Obviously, everything I've just told you is an interpretation of the time, but you know what they say. When it happens once, it's a fluke, but when it's 5 times, so with so many incredible elements, it can only be a success, no? No, not her, not the Gundam. Couldn't it have been another shoe? Sorry, my passion got the better of me. There are several reasons why the Air Max 98 failed. First of all, its price. It's still $1998, and this one was selling for $150, which was huge for the time. That's the equivalent of selling a pair at $230 in retail today. It was even the most expensive shoe in the Nike catalog at the time, so people concentrated instead on the Air Max 95 and 97, which still had the right to attractive new colorways. But that wasn't all. What finished off the Air Max 98 was the release in the same year of the Air Max Plus, which was so successful that it completely wiped the Air Max 98 off the face of the earth. And yet, the Air Max 98 had the same technology as the Air Max Plus, but the Plus's design stood above the rest. They even tried to release a second version of the 98, the 98 TL, but this one sunk the model even further. In short, the Air Max 98 was such a failure that it went on sale. No one was buying them, preferring instead to buy the more expensive Air Max Plus. But you know, with Nike, a pair of sneakers is never buried forever. In March 2014, 16 years after the release of the first colorway, the Air Max 98 is back. It'll be a very timid return, as they'll only be releasing colorways that people couldn't care less about, like the Team Orange. Let's be honest, no one gave a damn and wondered why, when Japanese animation was still growing in popularity, they didn't release the Gundam again. But a brand you all know, which was also at the top of its hype at the time, is going to relaunch the model. Supreme. It's 2016 and dad shoes are starting to get really hype. And Supreme, which loves to dig up forgotten models with their collaborations like the Air Force 2 or the Air Humara, is going to dig this one up at just the right time. In April 2016, the collaboration appeared with 4 different pairs: the black, the red, the navy, and the cream. The pairs are beautiful, and the collaboration is a great success. The combination of Supreme's hype and dad shoes will be part of this success. But that's not all. The Air Max 98 will gain even more popularity, because in 2018, for the pair's 20th anniversary, Nike will opt for a masterstroke. Nike decides to re-release its OG colorway, the Gundam, and it's a huge success, much bigger than the Supreme collaboration. The anime hype is much stronger than in 1998, and that's not even mentioning dad's shoes. Sneaker addicts pounced on the re-release, and the pair was sold out in no time. Today, they sell for around $600, which is a lot for an Air Max. So thank you, Nike. Thank you for your marketing. Thank you for your communication. You've relaunched a model that everyone thought had been forgotten and which makes fans of the franchise very happy. This model has relaunched the Air Max 98 and enabled a whole host of new colorways to be released, like the South Beach, the Charlotte Hornets, or the Mezcla. As a result, we're seeing more people on the street wearing this model. To conclude, I'd say that this isn't the last time we'll see a collaboration between a Japanese anime and brands like Nike. In fact, Nike SB recently had its official collaboration with Gundam Unicorn, and because of that, the fact that the Air Max 98 is indeed the Gundam is now canon. This culture is becoming increasingly widespread, and adults in Europe and the USA, as in Japan, are getting into anime. In any case, thanks to this, the Air Max 98 has a bright future ahead of it, and there's no end in sight.